In the 28th episode of Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone, a gangster named Henry Francis Valentine is killed in a shootout with the police. He awakens in heaven where his every wish and want is granted at command by a man named Pip, which at first is great, but eventually Valentine tires of this. Have you ever played a video game on the easiest possible settings? It gets old pretty quick, and once boredom sets in for Valentine, he finds his paradise to be unbearable. He begs Pip to send him to the other place instead, and he tells him that, well, you may be able to deduce where this is going.
I don't belong in heaven, see? I want to go to the other place.
Heaven? Whatever gave you the idea you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine? This is the other place.
Here's a question. Have you ever thought about what your own personal hell would be? I've been thinking about it a little bit recently, and for me, it'd probably be some kind of intensely uncomfortable and inescapable social situation, also mixed in with some sort of classical torture method too, or something. Oh, holy shit. Actually, I know exactly what it would be. It would be going to the dentist, but the dentist talks kind of like a hairdresser does, and you have to make conversation with him while he's yoinking your teeth out. There it is. That would be my own personal hell for sure. For Pancake, hell would be an endless series of people coughing around her. She inexplicably hates coughing more than anything. If you ever want Pancake to leave the room, just start coughing. For magician, actor, and innovative legendary early filmmaker George Méliès, hell was a dance, and an elaborate one at that. In Méliès's 1904 7-minute-long film Faust in Hell, seen through the lens of a hand-cranked camera as loud as a machine gun, Méliès presents us with a mind-blowing, illusionary frolic through fire, where strange, perilous beasts lurk around every corner. Frankly, in the 120 years since this release, I'm not sure that there's ever been another depiction of hell that matched the showmanship or kineticism of Méliès's version. For some of y'all, hell is things like eternal boredom, being covered in slugs, or their cat defecating in their laundry. And actually, that's funny, like literally 10 minutes ago, I caught my other dog using my clean laundry bin as a bed, but big thanks to everyone who responded to the community post. For YouTubers turned filmmakers Danny and Michael Filippo, hell is, well, actually, I can't quite tell you that yet, and I can't tell you my favorite depictions of hell yet either because we'd be getting into some serious spoilers, so I'm going to give a quick spoiler warning. I have time-stamped when we will be talking about what, but some discussion may spill over a bit, and also you can see a list of all the media included in this video down below in the description, and man, Pancake she really wants to go outside, but we gotta do the spoiler warning first. Sorry, Pancake, and we'll go ahead and do that right now. And now, Pancake can go outside. While she does so, for the audio listeners only, spoiler alert for This Is the End, The Sopranos, The Northman, The Beyond, Mad God, Talk to Me, Supernatural, Heaven Can Wait, Forever, Adventure Time, and The Good Place. And also shout out to RubyDown3329 for correctly guessing the topic, and Lucas Coleman 1192, he got pretty close, and y'all make sure to keep an eye out for future community posts. I will never forget when my wife and I saw the Filippo Brothers 2022 film Talk to Me. It was only showing at the worst theater in the worst town in West Texas, and going in and out of there was kind of like that scene in Beau is Afraid where he runs into the convenience store, so that was just part of it, but there was also just... I don't know. Honestly, I struggle to think of another film that I have had such a visceral reaction to. I mean, I am an adult man, but I could not sleep that night, which actually isn't out of the ordinary for me. In fact, it's a nightly occurrence, but I specifically could not sleep because the movie freaked me out so bad, especially that one scene where, well, here. So Talk to Me revolves around this mummified hand statuette that allows the user to come face to face with the dead. And if you so wish, you can allow these spirits to possess your body, which apparently gives you a great high, but if you let the ghost do so for too long, it'll haunt you or assume an extended influence or control over your body. So this group of high school friends are playing with the hand, and our protagonist lets her best friend's little brother use it. And of course, the possession goes on for too long. The spirit turns out to be fairly malevolent, and it tries to kill him. And there is just something so helpless about this situation. I think that's what got me the most about it the first time in this sequence, aside from the just gruesome effects. Fantastic performances too, especially from Joe Bird in this scene. There is an effect involving one of his eyes that made me exclaim in the theater. Like, I almost cut this movie from this video entirely because I didn't want to rewatch the scene or have to edit it. And I love this movie a lot. I think it's really good, but it scared the fucking shit out of me. I've been too much of a coward to rewatch it. My wife has been trying to get me to rewatch it with her, and when asked for a quote on the film, her response was, "Nasty, gross, a must watch." So the brother ends up in a coma while the evil spirit still possesses his body, and later in the movie we learn that his soul is being tortured in what appears to be some kind of hell. We only get brief flashes of it, but it looks so claustrophobic and uncomfortable and horrifically tortuous. This depiction of hell has always stuck with me, and apparently originally the scene was over 2 minutes long. I don't think my heart could have handled that. To the Filippo brothers, hell is innocent actions leading to extreme consequences. Hell is the absolute most painful version of grief. For the creative team behind Season 4, Episode 5 of Adventure Time, entitled Return to the Nightosphere, hell is a really, really long line, which is absolutely true. Anyone from any walk of life or different perspective on the human experience hates waiting in long lines, even masochists. In Adventure Time's version of hell, aka the Nightosphere, hell is an understaffed, disparate collection of demons and lost souls just kinda all stuck there together. This version of hell also has some very fun demon design and other stuff going on too, and I really kinda like how passive everybody is about everything except for cutting in line. It is a supremely enjoyable take from a supremely enjoyable show.
Hey there, Sam. What's happening?
Oh, nothing. Just the end of the world.
Well, if I don't mention the Eric Kripke created series Supernatural, I'm gonna get yelled at again in the comments. So as far as Supernatural's depiction of hell goes, what struck me the most about it when Dean gets sent there at the end of season 3 by the, I think, Hellhounds, right? They like drag him to hell, if my memory serves correct. I still haven't finished the show, even though I know some of y'all want me to, but what I found most compelling about Supernatural's hell was just Dean's state of mind after he returns from from hell. You can really tell from just how traumatized he is by the experience there, how awful and cruel it truly was. And that's all you need. You could show an hour of Dean being tortured in hell, but it still would not compare or have near the same effect as just seeing his face when asked about what happened to him there. For Eric Kripke, hell is an insurmountable, lingering trauma. For Phil Tippett, the legendary animator who spent 30 years crafting the film Mad God in his basement, seemingly out of blood, spit, shit, and other bodily fluids, hell is a meat grinder. Attempting to recount the events of Mad God would be a fruitless task. It would go something like a freaky little invisible man looking guy who makes monkey noises dangles a light on a string which attracts this other freaky little guy who he catches, but then a lumpy monster comes out of his house and butchers him while someone in a gas mask watches, and then he sees all these giant beings being electrocuted, which causes them to poop ferociously into the mouth of the... See what I mean? What truly matters about Mad God is the feel and aesthetic of its crafted world. There is something about the landscape of Mad God that just feels so vast and expansive. Every layer of its hell is an entirely different biome built on a different food chain. To be clear, I don't think that Mad God is set in the hell, but it is certainly a hell. The most affecting moment of the film for me is the sequence when we see these little worker guys attempt to navigate the world's deadliest work site. They're treated as extremely expendable slaves, and I just can't help but feel sorry for these voiceless, faceless little guys. For Phil Tippett, hell is a living, breathing, shitting, and farting machine that puts its most vulnerable members through a wood chipper and then grounds them into mulch. For Phil Tippett, hell is, well, eerily familiar. For writer-director Lucio Fulci, hell is an empty wasteland where the dead are doomed to become lost and forgotten. In 1981's The Beyond, a door to hell has been opened, and some of its occupants begin to leak out into the world. Liza and John accidentally stumble through the doorway to hell when fleeing from some of its escaped monstrosities, and they discover hell to be a barren, dead wasteland where they are now doomed to fade away into the empty nothingness. One of my favorite aspects of David Chase's masterpiece, The Sopranos, of which there are so many, is that there are supernatural elements at play, ranging from visions of the Virgin Mary to reincarnated cats. When Chris awakens from his coma after he gets shot, either at the end of season 2 or towards the end of it, he tells Tony and Polly that he visited hell and that it is an Irish bar called the Emerald Piper, where it is forever St. Patrick's Day. He saw his father there, as well as other slain mob members, both friend and foe alike. There are even Roman soldiers there. They are all playing dice, but can't ever win. The Irish win every roll. And Chris has been sent back from the afterlife with a message for Tony and Polly.
Yeah, he said, tell Tony and Paulie 3 o'clock.
I will tell you what, I believe him. There is no doubt in my mind that this is Chris's true hell. There are other versions of hell in the show, depending on how deep you choose to read into some of its symbolism. I really like and also find it pretty funny how Polly also believes him and is affected by this. He is a little more in touch with his spiritual side than Tony is. And you know what? Quick Sopranos tangent, my favorite character by far is Polly, and that is largely due to just how perfect Tony Sirico is. No other actor in the world could have made Paulie work the way that he did.
Think about it though, Tone. So weight loss. AIDS?
And my favorite scene in the whole series is Chris's intervention, which ends with everyone just kicking the shit out of him. It is so fucking funny. And also the most underrated joke in the entire series is from the episode where Johnny Sack's daughter gets married and Johnny asks Tony to kill, I think it was Frankie Valli, but he doesn't want to do it, and then he and Chris have this little exchange.
John just asked me specifically.
So it's like the movie then?
What movie?
One, that you can't refuse a man's request on his daughter's wedding day?
No, it's the other way around. that I should be asking him for something he can't refuse.
So did you?
No,
You should ask not to do this.
I already fucking agreed.
They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but in Michael Schur's The Good Place, the road to heaven is paved with bad intentions. At least that is the case for our protagonist Eleanor, who, due to a bureaucratic oopsie-daisy, takes someone else's place in heaven, aka The Good Place. Eleanor spends most of the series' first season trying to keep her secret and remain in The Good Place, and along the way she forms friendships with her housemate and a handful of her neighbors, one of which is actually also supposed to be in the other place. Eventually their secret does come out, and a great deal of time is spent squabbling back and forth on what to do about it and what will happen next. It is at the height of this drama that Eleanor has a massive revelation, and you know, I can talk about perfect moments in stuff till the cows come home. Which, what the fuck does that mean? By the way, why aren't the cows home? Where are the cows? Maybe one of these days I'll do a video on perfect moments or scenes or whatever, but forget any and everything else. This is not a perfect moment. This is the perfect moment.
This is the bad place.
Oh, man.
Ted Danson gives a 10 out of 10 performance in this scene, and I've already talked a little bit in this video and in at least one other one about the you've been dead or in hell the whole time trope, but this is the absolute best possible version of that. And it is unbelievable that over 50 years after that episode of The Twilight Zone, the same twists executed in the same way is still so damn effective. Frankly, it's miraculous. As for the actual bad place, it is an uncomfortable failing bureaucracy plagued by office politics and awkward relationships with passive-aggressive coworkers. For Michael Schur, hell is a trap. You know, Eleanor, that lady who just died, who was a terrible person in life, well, the demons or whatever heard that she's coming down here to the bad place. So they set up a trap for her. This whole good place, it's a trap. So originally this video was going to involve depictions of hell and heaven and hell, but I just couldn't come up with enough depictions of heaven that really compelled me. In truth, the concept of heaven has always been kind of weird to me anyway, something I haven't been able to take all that seriously. Like, have you ever thought about how awkward heaven must be? Imagine you are driving your family somewhere and you lose focus for a minute, drift off the road, and get everyone killed. When everybody wakes up in heaven, wouldn't they all be super pissed at you? I think heaven would have to have a strict no score settling policy. If you died young and then your significant other lived to old age, wouldn't it be a little uncomfortable if you weren't attracted to them anymore in the same way, or vice versa? Or what if one of y'all had moved on whilst the other had not? The Alan Yang and Matt Hubbard 2018 limited series Forever kind of toys with this idea. After June's husband Oscar dies in a skiing accident, ending their unhappy marriage, June gets a big promotion in Hawaii and is set to revitalize her life, and then she chokes on a macadamia nut and dies. She awakens in heaven where her husband has been patiently waiting for her. For Yang and Hubbard, heaven is, well, a match made in hell. Although not really. The show is a heartfelt and very well fleshed out look at the ups and downs of marriage. Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen's 2013 film This Is the End features a pretty funny depiction of heaven. It is an awesome place where everyone is partying and the Backstreet Boys are performing. Robert Eggers' 2022 film The Northman features Valhalla, which sort of glows in the night sky while a Valkyrie with anachronistic braces rides into it, ready to carry our hero to glory. And so I watched Warren Beatty's 1978 film Heaven Can Wait for the first time this past week. It's a bit of a classic and received quite a bit of awards season love, but it definitely has not had the same staying power as the other heavy hitter from 78, The Deer Hunter. Initially, I only made it 20 minutes through the movie because once we arrive in heaven, it is quickly made clear that this is in fact not heaven at all, but instead just a loading zone. Basically, there there is a literal plane where the recently deceased are boarding to go to heaven, and so I turned it off because it didn't really fit into the video anymore, but there was just something about it that continued to call out to me like a siren or Willem Dafoe in the Green Goblin mask. I just had to finish it, and so I did. And you would not believe some of the shit that goes down in this movie. The ending has sent me into an existential death spiral, and I just have to talk to someone about this movie. Let me set the mood first. Siri, please play In the Hall of the Mountain King by Edvard Grieg. Heaven Can Wait is the story of a pro football player named Joe, whose #1 character trait is that he loves the saxophone, and also he has just been named the new starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. He believes that it is his destiny to win the Super Bowl that year, but this endeavor encounters a minor inconvenience when a car hits him and he fucking dies. So he wakes up in the afterlife, and his spirit guide or whatever does the absolute worst possible job of explaining to him that he isn't dreaming and is actually dead. And yes, he is holding a saxophone here. He carries it around with him basically the whole movie. So Mr. Jordan shows up, who is sort of in charge of all of this hoopla, and he reveals that actually Joe wasn't supposed to die, just suffer life-altering, debilitating injuries. And his spirit guide jumped the gun by reaping his soul, and now he's got to go put him back in his body. But that plan falls flat when it turns out his body has been cremated. So Mr. Jordan is like, hey, no worries, man. It's all love. We'll just put you in the body of someone who is dying, and then you can be them from now on. So they stick him in the body of this Machiavellian millionaire whose wife and assistant have conspired to kill him. Amazing line, by the way, when the wife discovers that he is still alive.
Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Farnsworth. Mrs. Farnsworth saw a mouse, but she's better now.
She just saw a mouse?
No, before, outside, but she relives it.
So he falls for this other woman whose storyline honestly doesn't really matter all that much, and then he contacts his old trainer, and by the way, even though he's still Warren Beatty, everybody else sees him as the other guy, as the millionaire instead. The scene where he first inhabits the millionaire's body drove me up the wall, because the film has two golden opportunities to show how this functions visually. First, when he looks in the mirror, and then again in this cut right here, which seems tailor-made to show what he actually looks like, but it just doesn't. So he wants to still be the Rams quarterback and win the Super Bowl. It is his destiny, remember, and his old trainer can't quite get him on the team, so Joe buys the Los Angeles Rams and then just makes himself the new starting quarterback. Then Mr. Jordan shows up and is like, hey, so we're gonna take you out of this body, actually. This was just a temporary arrangement, and we're gonna put you in a new one that is more similar to your previous life. And he's like, no, I want to be this millionaire guy now. And then the assistant snipes him, and his body falls into a well. A detective talks to everyone about this incident, and the woman he was into kind of randomly has two killer lines in this scene back to back.
That's all right. I don't know you well enough for you to hurt me.
I hope you don't doubt my word.
I don't. I'm absolutely sure that you're lying.
So then we cut to the Super Bowl, and the actual Rams quarterback is killed during the game. Then Mr. Jordan and Joe show up, and Mr. Jordan is like, this was the plan all along. Go get him, Tiger. So Joe gets in the quarterback's body and wins them the game, but then he learns that now he will lose all of his memories of his previous life and will truly be this other guy now. So that happens, and then he hits on that woman again, and she sort of garners that it is still actually Joe inside of there a little bit, and then the movie fucking ends. And I'm sorry, what? I just, so let's try and work this out. So when the Rams quarterback died, Joe went into his body. And this isn't like a sunken place type situation. That guy's soul is now on his way up the elevator. So based off those logistics, I don't understand why Joe has to surrender his entire being. I mean, this is debatable, but in my opinion, if Joe loses all of his memories of his previous life and gains all of this guy's experiences, he isn't Joe anymore. He is, I mean, almost quite very literally this other guy now. And in fact, there is a moment that seems to exist to make this crystal crystal clear. When Joe sees his saxophone, he doesn't recognize it as his or have any interest in it at all. But then at the end of the movie, the woman can apparently tell that it is still him. So which one is it? What is supposed to be my takeaway here? When he dies again and goes to heaven, will there just be two guys who both think they're the real quarterback guy? All that Mr. Jordan has done essentially is just cloned that guy, but also he is still Warren Beatty, even though there is another shot that seems set up for a switcheroo and then also just doesn't. I just don't know. Is the point of this ending to debate this very thing? I don't know. My conclusion here is I don't know. Heaven Can Wait is a film that, if it came out today, would still be wildly original. It is a brilliant, unorthodox marriage of different genres that also nails a lot of the comedy involved, but at the same time, it is still a super conventional sports movie that sets itself up to do a lot of really interesting things and then just doesn't. Again, I don't know. And thank y'all so much for watching. Let me know if the audio on this one sounded any better. I did a few new things that I think should improve the quality. Also, let me know how y'all feel about some of the other things I tried out, such as the audio only spoiler warning, the community post comments, and also holler at me down below with your own favorite depictions of hell and or heaven, because I definitely, like I said, I had trouble with the heaven ones. If y'all know some good heaven ones, hit me up. And if you'd be interested in a part 2 or whatever else, you know, you would like to see me do next, please let me know as well. Wish you all the best. Hope y'all have a good week next week.